it's that time of year once again, and I always look forward to this time of year because I've been following this band for, well, probably since it started, and just the chaos, the energy, and just the sheer lightning in a bottle creativity that you get from these moments. Of course, talking about First of October, the band formed by YouTubers Rob Scallon and Andrew Huang. For those uninitiated, this band was basically formed as a just completely improvised musical project between the two of them back in 2018. Go into the studio having not written any songs, anything at all, and just write and record an entire album in a day. And it's just so much fun to watch, just year after year. It's just so much fun, and the variety and the chaos of it, even, you know, sometimes it works well and it's amazing, sometimes it doesn't work so well and that's funny, but you know, when you do get those lightning in a bottle moments, it's really just the moments of genius. So let's do a little retrospective on the band's discography thus far while we await the new album, which should be coming out roughly around the time whenever this video comes out. I'm recording this in September, by the way. First of October formed in 2018, a union of Rob Scallon and Andrew Huang coming together to do this, you know, completely improvised, write an album in a day. And I mean, you can tell from what, you know, everybody involved said at the time was that nobody expected this to work. Basically, not even Rob and Andrew themselves, but it was just going to be a fun, you know, silly experiment. But it sort of did work out, and they were like,
sounds like a winner.
Well, we can do it again. And they have done it pretty much year on year since, bar 1 year. The amount of just pure, joyous fun, and what I feel this series really shows is just the pure joy of creation. Without thinking too hard, without, you know, going into the whole, you know, the growing pains of it. It's just the joy of just creating something, that just what makes this such a fun series, and just such a fun load of songs. So most of the albums are recorded at Uptown Recording Studio in Chicago, which and produced by good friend of Rob Scallon, Rob Rucha, who is basically kind of like the third member of First of October, kind of a bit like the George Martin of the Beatles. He's a secret third member who's really just, you know, I mean, he's the one who just like ties everything together so nicely. But anyway, enough of the rambling. Let's actually get on to the albums themselves, and I'll give my thoughts. So, album 1, 10 Hours, named after how long it took them to, you know, write and record the album. The time they basically allotted themselves, which, as going on forward in time, we learned that they quickly abandoned this short time and extended it to 12 hours for quite obvious reasons, because 10 hours flat out without a break of anything is, yeah. So of course there's the early growing pains. It's just going to be a fun little experiment of a thing that just happened to work out better than they expected, but there's still plenty of elements of things that would be ironed out in later albums. Namely the overall structure of the day. This was, you know, long before they enacted the sort of one song each hour schedule that they employed from their third album onwards. So everything's just a little chaotic, and they're doing little bits here, little bits there, spending time on one thing but not leaving enough time for something else. And so you do get plenty of times on the album where it does sound very, very rushed, because it was. Again, despite that, you just get these really cool lightning in a bottle moments, and it's fun because it's the most raw of the albums, because it's just, everyone's just flying by the seat of their pants, and, you know, it's just pure kind of just crazy chaos trying to get this thing done, but they just managed to just in time, basically. I think what best shows this is both the opening and the closing track. The opening track is just 30 seconds long, just sort of like a punky kind of pop punk thing, with them just going woo over the top of it, and then like this break of like this really sad lyrics like, every day I try, every day I fail. It's so fun, and it just shows like the just pure improv first try, get it onto tape, and it's just so much fun, so ridiculous. And there's a lot of like really fun, great moments, like track 2, We Can't Be sorry, not We Can't Be Stopped, Can't Be Stopped, but you know, it's like simple tracks that it just shows that sometimes really great songs don't need hours and hours and days being slaved over to craft something amazing. You can create a great song in just, you know, an hour or so. But of course there's plenty of, you know, like sillier tracks because you're running out of time, and like, there's plenty of the sillier side of the tracks that they sort of lean into due to just sort of the craziness of the schedule basically. So for example, there's tracks Two Friends and Don't Go To My House are just they're quite silly and just hilarious at the same time, like mostly just improvised lyrics from Rob on both of them, and just like, oh, Don't Go To My House is just so funny. It's just like,
you wanna hang out with me, you gotta ask me first. You can't just show up. That's really weird.
I just love that bit. It's just so funny. It's really fun seeing the band, seeing both Andrew and Rob sort of playing to their strengths, kind of going to their familiar territory. So for Rob, it's a lot of Midwest emo, sometimes a bit of like the punk and metal stuff. Andrew's just an amazing all-round, you know, musician. He's done electronic, R&B, pop, rock, hip-hop all over the thing, so it's that kind of, but hearing sort of how they play into their strengths, and that's of course a lot of punky stuff because that's quite simple, and then the Midwest emo stuff as well is often just Rob basically knows that stuff like the back of his hand, and it's just, you're hearing sort of the formative aspect of their sound, that the kind of the running jokes that basically just get formulated on this album is just, you know, like the start of the character of Greg, who's mentioned on Don't Go To My House. Again, the silly songs, sort of the difference between sort of the punk and the funk and the yes. And then the soft acoustic ballads, like for example, the next track, Don't Go. This is another one of those lightning in a bottle moments for me, because there's always going to be one, you know, nice soft acoustic ballad on each of these albums, but it's just got this, the finger-picked guitar line, the vocal harmonies. It's a really beautiful, heartfelt song, and you know, like, it doesn't quite sound like something that you would have think was written in like just an hour, but yet, you know, I think it's my favourite song on this album in particular. It's the most impressive sounding, despite, you know, it's very restrained, very held back, very minimalist in the instrumentation, which of course helps with, you know, the time constraints, but you know, it's a good song. I just don't know what to say. It's good, it's heartfelt, it's, despite the silliness of the rest of the album, it is almost a bit of a tearjerker in a way. Then you got the other, like, you know, fun tracks like Rollerblading, Things to Do, and that, but then you get sort of the more rushed tracks like Spoilers for Play Dead's Inside and Possible Band Names, which of course, they just put all these right at the end of the day, so just super rushed, just basically just completely improvised, as well as most of the lyrics on the album. But it was, you know, and it's like, when you think, just going back to again saying, nobody really expected this thing to work. It was just going to be a fun, silly thing, but it did work surprisingly well. And it was just so much fun, and I'm pretty sure everyone in the comments of the video when it first came out, myself included, was just like, I want to see more of this. This looks like so much fun, and lo and behold, they did continue it. So they returned following year, exact same time, same studio, with the next album, which they titled Gourmet Ravioli. This one, just, they tried to go bigger, they tried to go better, and they do, but also this is sort of where, quite early on, you get the breaking point of where they then later introduced a bit more structure to the day to make things flow a little better, because the highs on this album are some of the highest of just their entire discography, but also arguably the most lacking and unfinished in other areas. It's the most inconsistent and patchy of all the albums, because it's got basically their all-time best song, again, another lightning in a bottle moment with Ravioli. It's a silly track, but it's just so ingeniously crafted in just that short amount of time, just that brief, immediate like stroke of genius, as Rob was just playing around with that Phrygian dominant scale on the bass for that, leaning into his Primus influences and producing it's just such an amazing song how they're able to produce that in just such a short amount of time, and it's so fun, it's so memorable, it's practically the band's theme tune, it's so great. But then you also have tracks that are just, on 10 hours, they had tracks that sounded rushed, but nothing that was like blatantly unfinished. The one track in particular, literally titled "We Didn't Have Time to Get Lyrics on This Song," where they just did their whole like classic improv thing, but they sort of messed around, and it was, they had nothing because the day was, split between so many different things, and they did make one alteration, so they extended the day from 10 hours to 12 hours to give them a 2-hour break for lunch, which, clearly helped them quite a lot, but the structure of the day and the effective time management wasn't quite there. Again, you just get those moments of like, there's some tracks that really could have been really, really good, but there's aspects of them that are just kind of a bit lacking, For example, their title track, First of October, it has the potential to just be such an amazing, powerful ballad of a song, and it's almost that, it's just lacking that extra instrumentation that they just didn't have the time to put onto it, because they didn't have the structure for the time management in place to do that. And they did manage it on later albums where they were able to, songs that were a bit lacking, but just were able to layer them and build up the instrumental layers effectively through the time management. They just weren't able to, and it's an unfortunate aspect, but even aside from that, you still got amazing song done in like a ridiculously short amount of time. So of course they're extending the instrumental palette on this album. First album was just drums, guitar, bass and acoustic guitar. This one they brought in a piano and some other guitars to get some different things, like a 12-string guitar, and you got the great punk energy of October 1. You got the fun little Halloween-y style one on October 31st, which again returns the character of Greg. It's, it's just like the last one. It's fun, it's chaotic, it's silly, but with these strokes of genius in between all of it. And I think as well, they sort of were maybe, trying to reach a little too high. Of course, we're trying to outdo the last year, so they're a bit getting quite ambitious with it. Again, the instrumental for We Didn't Have Time to Get the Lyrics on this is a really cool, funky instrumental, and that would have required quite an intensive, treatment to get some good lyrics on it anyway. But again, but then you get the beautiful like ballads like Valerie and Do You Want To, where it's just, they're playing to their strengths. It's great, it's fun, it's the most inconsistent. The less good tracks are of course the least good, but then you have like some of the best, and in fact probably the best song they've arguably ever done in Ravioli. So just such a great feeling to know that they were going to be continuing this series on, to the point that we look forward to it every year. So unfortunately the following year, 2020, they weren't able to repeat this because of, I think we all know what was going on at the time, which was a shame, a disappointment, but understandable. However, the following year, October 2021, they returned in full force. And here's where I think they really hit their stride in their process and their creation. They had some iconic songs early on, but this is really where they hit their stride and they got a formula down that works for them. So the time management was a big issue in the previous 2 years. So what they did this year was they introduced basically divide the day into hours. So it's 10 songs, 10 hours, removed of course the extra 2 hours for lunch, spend 1 hour on one song, and that's it. There's of course contingency to go a bit over that, or if it's nice and quick, then go under that, save themselves some time for the end of the day to get some overdubs and stuff done. Felt so good to have them back after missing a year, and so this structure allowed them to get more effective with their time, and the resulting album is far more polished than the previous two. Of course, there's still elements of a bit of rushed here and there, but it is still just as fun as always, and with just the craziness and the chaos regardless of the structure, but in a way that they can make it fit into plenty of their strengths and make it work. It's a bit of an odd choice to put their acoustic ballad as the first track, this one being Miracle, a song Andrew wrote about his family. Again, it's a really beautiful, heartfelt song. It's a wonderful song. To start the album, a bit of an odd choice, but you do you. But you just got some great fun tracks like Bookmobile, where they just went full on Rage Against the Machine, but as a tribute to Rob's mum, who who owns a library on a library bus. I think, is that a thing we have in the UK? I don't know, but it's deliver the books to to people. And it's just such a great song. you watch the video, they were really struggling to write this song, and I think it was Rooch, the producer, who mentioned something like, "Oh, guys, so new metal, so Rage Against the Machine," and that just hit the inspiration. Which again, Rooch is like the secret third member. He's just as important to the band as Rob Aranda is. Just that pure genius. It's hilarious. It's funny, but also just so great and so satisfying. And of course, the most outwardly, Greg song. It's one that's literally called Greg, and the album is called Gotta Record Everything Good. Literally G-R-E-G, Greg. I forgot to say that at the start, man, I'm an idiot. Yeah, and you just get, it's just like this. It's like an intro theme to some like sports stadium or like some wrestler, but yeah, it's Greg. It's so good. I love it. And then you got Trick or Treat, the Halloween song, Midwest emo song in Temporary. Some people I've heard are not too into this song because it kind of drags on a bit, but I mean, I like it because a lot of the songs that they do, because they don't have much time to make them, they're typically very short songs. But I mean, I enjoy this song, not just for the length, but I think it's a really, I mean, again, I keep saying it, but it's Rob playing to his strengths and his Midwest emo influences, and there's just the sheer dynamic and variety in all of these albums that are just so, it just makes it so fun each year. I love it. And then you got like the references to kind of like the Weezer sounding instrumentation of Feel So Right. Time management worked so well for them, they were able to get an 11th song in, which again was just completely and utterly improvised in the last like 10 minutes of the day, and it's a bit of just a silly thing, a non-starter, but the fact that they went from really struggling to manage their time effectively in the past 2 albums to having enough time to get an extra bonus song in is just, it just shows how much this structure for them just improved everything. And and of course you've got the track Never Say Goodbye, which sort of leans into that kind of almost, I'd say sort of like musical Broadway-esque thing, which on the previous album I forgot to mention, with like Climb That Mountain, was, that, it sounds like something out of a musical. I mean, I'm not a big fan of musicals, but I mean, this is 1st of October, how can you not like it? It's just, Andrew's vocals are just so great. Like, I don't think I've given like enough credit. Like, Rob's an amazing musician, Andrew's an amazing musician, and Andrew's just an incredible singer. And as well, Rob has like really become a really good singer in and of himself. He's, I think he never really considered himself much of a singer early on, but he's really got some great vocals in the later albums, so it's just like, both of them are just so talented, and it just kind of just makes me angry in a way. Like, where do they get all the talent? Save some for the rest of us, guys. So then the following year, again, it's established, going to be year on year from now on out, and we get to 2022 with Chaos. It's the perfect title for just the process of making these albums, Chaos. This is probably my favourite album they've done thus far. Mainly because it's the most metal forward one, because of course I'm going to enjoy that, metalhead over here, but also leaning quite heavily into the spooky stuff and the Halloween elements as well. I hear some people being like not so much a fan of this album because they feel it's less diverse. They're leaning a little bit too hard into the metal and the Halloween stuff, but I mean, those are kind of the aspects I enjoy the most about their sound. But after they'd refined it sort of in the 3rd year, and they were really able to, I think, shift towards a more perfecting this formula. And this was just the most fun one for me to watch, to experience, and I just love the sound of it. And it's the most Halloween-y metal forward one, but still has some non-elements like that, but just again that lightning in a bottle creative genius moments. So spooky time, of course, metal, Halloween, fuse that together sort of super well. It's super fun and it's great, and it's just some of the lyrics are just like so funny. It's just like, he's got a tooth that's sweet. And track 2, Headless. So of course the whole thing, like the headless horseman rides a headless horse, and it's just chaos. And then, oh my god, just the line about like, my dentist doesn't make much money is just comedic genius. The way they play around with the different instrumentation, I think this one, so they were using that, the one with like the sub pickup on the guitar to like, help them save some time with recording, so they don't have to, record the bass on it. It doesn't have the same amount of low end as recording an actual bass, so I will say, like, if there is one criticism for this song, it is lacking that low end. And in the interviews that Rob has done with Rooch, he's mentioned that, you know, like, there's only so much low end you can like put back into it before it just kind of sounds a bit muddy. So that's just nitpicking, because this is a great song, and you know, the layering of the guitar riff with the Rhodes piano is good. Good. Then shifting into a more sort of sincere territory with the next track, Good Enough. It's sort of like a more of like a softer alternative rock, indie rock kind of thing. Like, this is the one album that I think just every song, they just hit it. You know, there's a couple of songs on the previous albums where they were sort of like, you know, like a bit rushed, a bit kind of like, you know, here and there. But like this one, really, just each one is like there's no misses on this one for me, and I think that really showed just how, you know, how far they'd come and how they're able to refine this process so well. So yeah, Riff Lord, great fun. Just watching them just keep layering and layering and layering vocal layers, like right up until the last second of the day, was just so much fun to watch. Jangly Bones, again, an absolute genius song that they wrote in, again, basically no time at all. Just a perfect, like, it's spooky Halloween vibes, but with like kind of more folky instrumentation. Really cool, so good. It's Halloween, it's Rob just going in with it with just like pure Halloween metal. And I love this song so much, just like all of them. I Left My Pants in Chicago, again, just the funny, silly track. It's, you know, going a bit like Americana, folky stuff, but again, just genius lyrics. It's so fun because it's so silly, but it's just sort of comedic genius about, you know, leave my trousers by the roadway, but I forget to put them on before I leave. It's just, I love it. Lonely Angel, going into sort of more mopey alt rock kind of thing. Sorry, I can hear my dog grumbling outside the door because he wants to come in, but recording right now, sorry beans. But yeah, Lonely Angel, going in for that more kind of alt rock, indie rock kind of thing, and more, I just love that whole thing of like, the Lonely Angel, did that come from like Twitter prompts, Andrew? It's like,
no, I'm just a sad boy.
The way Rob plays around with like the guitar effect, again, it was just one of those pure lightning in the bottle things that you just can't recreate, with just how unpredictable the pedal he was using, and just those improvised sounds he was able to get out of it adds so much. And it's got that dreamy, the dreaminess, the melancholy, and he's good. Then Love to Say I Love You, of course, the acoustic ballad they have to go for, and Great in Its Own Way, of course, dedicated to Andrew's family as well. And then Find the Way. So this is what I was talking about, how they were able to take a song that might have been lacking early on and just build it up, because they were saying that this song needed a lot of work. But with the added time management, they were able to just keep layering and layering the instrumentation to make it sound grand, powerful, and in the previous years, if they tried to write this song, it would have ended up a bit like the track First of October, which would be, it's nearly there, it's just lacking that extra beefy instrumentation, and they were able to put it on this song, and it just shows like, oh, damn. I did have a shirt I bought from like their merch for this album. I don't know what happened to it. It probably got thrown away because there was loads of holes in it. Fucking moths. I hate moths so much. Yeah, like this still today is like my favourite album of theirs thus far. Not to, you know, discredit the following albums they've done. Maybe 2025 might overtake it, but we will have to wait and see. So now we shift forward a year across the road. The band, they wanted to go bigger and better as always, so they rented out Abbey Road Studios in London. And they are both jet lagged, and I remember watching this, and you know, for those who've seen the video and the making of it, Rob wasn't doing too well in his mental health, and that really hit me quite hard because I could really relate to him, because basically before this point, when I was at university, and I was not in a good state of mind at university, and I just couldn't write music as well as I wanted to. I couldn't do things as well as I wanted to do because my head was just not in the right place. And hearing Rob be so open about it, especially revealing his struggles with bipolar disorder as well, which he was suffering from the low, you know, the low dip of it around this time they're recording it. And despite that, they still made a great album. So Andrew really helped pick up the slack on this album. Some people may say it's a bit of an imbalance, but I think despite all of that, they were still able to do the best they could despite the issues. Now, of course, in Abbey Road, they had, there's plenty of Beatles emulation. They actually used some of the instruments that the Beatles actually used, such as, the mellotron, the piano, and I'm pretty sure they also said that they used one guitar pick the entire day, and they didn't lose it somehow. How they manage that is insane, but, we lose these things all the bloody time. Now they just one for the entire day. For everything, like not one each, literally one guitar pick between the two of them, and they made that work. I just want to give them credit for that. That is impressive. There's plenty of good wordplay. For example, Across the Road, the title of the album, the opening track, really leaning into that Beatles energy. Then Abbey Road, as in a girl called Abby, she rode. But the wordplay was just so much fun with that, and it's so great, and the funky blues of It's Good to Be Back, the really heartfelt feeling of Usually, which again Rob basically wrote about not being able to write songs. They can just be really powerful when they want to be. They can really just lean into that heartfelt side of things, aside from their the kind of the silly stuff that they go here and there. But when they go for something really just sincere, honest and heartfelt, they really do it incredibly well. The next track, Dorian, this is about Andrew's son. So as opposed to his previous songs, which he's wrote about his family, the nice acoustic ballads, this one is a far more powerful, anthemic one, and I think it's a really cool little shift up he's done. I mean, it's a great song by its own merits, but it's just this cool little shake up, and again he does a really amazing vocal performance where he just really goes into it, and of course the main riff of just ascending the Dorian scale, which is clever. Pretty raw, this one. Oh my god. It was just so much fun just watching, Rob was, in his, wasn't feeling great, but doing things regardless, and it was just him on there, the guitar. Was it the guitar lele or whatever it is? It's like a ukulele but strung like a guitar. So it's like a higher up guitar, and then Andrew's on the piano, and it's just them, and it sounds like they were going to build it up to a bigger song, but everyone around them were just, the cameras, the people behind the cameras, like for example, Tamara, Rob's wife, was basically saying, don't change it. This is perfect as it is, and and they just went with it. It's very simple. It's very this is just the power of instrumental music. You don't always need lyrics to just express a particular emotion, because this song alone, I think, probably perfectly encapsulates probably what Rob was feeling at the time. Just that deep sadness, that melancholy, but there's also just a wonderfully nostalgic quality to it as well. It's so simple and yet so effective. Then Magic, another bluesy Beatle-y one, another one of just Andrew just producing just perfect little songs, amazing. Same with Sunlight, again, these two tracks back to back is just Andrew picking up the slack and just going wild and just creating these just perfectly packaged happy little songs. And Make It Through the Night, of course the standard Halloween track, Rob messing around with this one, going properly into the old sort of 1950s horror movie kind of vibe, with the theremin and just him kind of it's just again, considering how he wasn't feeling great when recording this album, he still produced some great work on this album. And of course the great anthemic end, Live Out Loud. Great way to end it. Anthemic as always, but sort of conflicted, because I still preferred Chaos, and I still do prefer Chaos overall as an album, but just watching this more sincere, heartfelt side to the band is really powerful. And the making of video is such a uniquely powerful, it's probably the strongest I've ever related to anyone, any sort of YouTuber or famous individual. Just watching them, just being in that moment where you want to create but you just can't, you just don't have it, your head is just not in the right space. And despite all of that, they just made a great album. But then we get onto their most recent one, 2024's Round 6. So with that title, of course, the 6th album, but round 6, they're leaning into video game sounds and influences. So while they were leaning into the Beatles sound of the last one, and sort of they were leaning into a Halloween-y sound for Chaos. I think this is them just further refining their formula and picking a theme for, I mean, we'll see what happens with the next album, but this one is probably the most straightforwardly themed one throughout it. Now, first of all, seeing Rob in better health is just so great and just worth the price of admission alone. But then again, just despite that, them just further refining everything to make, again, another just great album. So again, starting off with the track Round 6. So this is the first one where they really delve into like hip hop and stuff. And I mean, to write a rap, like a good rap in like that short amount of time is impressive, and just how Andrew was just able to get that like down onto paper. The instrumentation is just so fun, funky, groovy, and the best part of this is like these don't sound like songs that were done in like an hour. These they sound like just so much more than that, so much more of than some of their parts, and oh my god, it's just so much fun. And just like the and when Andrew does a little at the start of it, and you know, oh, this is going to be a good one. So playing around with more of like the metal influences again, you get tracks like Dungeon Man and Infinite Knives. That's where they start even like using the 8-string guitar, which is for the first time, which is which is just super fun and crazy. But you know, and it's just like pretty much almost every track on this album is video game themed. Of course, the first track, Round 6, very video game references. Dungeon Man, Final Boss, Infinite Lives, Same Old Game, Let's Fight, Infinite Knives, pretty much just all of them. Even on tracks like Day Old Milk, you get this old style video game synthesizer sound, and just that cohesion, I think, is the diversity and all over the place sound of the previous albums I like, but for an overall artistic package, this union of this stylistic quality really helps tie it together even more. So of course you got the return of Greg. So for the past 2 albums, Greg was absent, and he literally returns in person in the making of this thing, and he gets his own song, Day Old Milk. So just a ska punk good fun time, and just the final verse of where they just break down the lyrics of I've been Greg and a lot like Greg, I'm a Greg and a Greg, and it's just so much fun. I love it. And of course, like the playing around with like the sillier stuff, like the track I'm a full grown man and I'm wearing a retainer. It's like less than 20 seconds. It's like 20 something seconds long. It's just a super quick barbershop quartet thing. Like the song designed specifically to just knock it out quickly to give them more time for songs at the end of the day. Usually when they have the songs space at the end of the day to do overdubs, but even then it's just a silly fun thing. You can't hate it. Oh my god, it's just so great. And then again, just the super heartfelt stuff as well. Infinite Lives is about Andrew saying that if he had infinite lives, he'd want to spend all of them with Rob because, the best bromance ever. And the ending track, It's Time to Move On. Again, just like with usually from the previous album, of course, but with Rob in better mental space, but you just get this beautiful, soft, heartfelt track, and it's so beautiful. And it was just so much fun to just watch this just making it. And god, I am so excited for the next one, whenever that's going to be, probably around this time. So this one should be probably October 18th, so around shortly after that, but I'm looking forward to it. I've recorded nearly an hour of footage, I need to edit this down, shit, but yeah, that's how it is. So Rob, Andrew, if you see this, you probably won't, but if you do, I'm looking forward to it. I know you'll do great as always, and yeah, looking forward to it. And as for you all, I'll see you all next week. Goodbye.